But as students of history, inshallah, we can put him on trial and see what's up. So your claim, as I remembered, was Yasser Arafat is a traitor, right? And so, Allah, let's begin the trial. Was it an open secret that he is, Yasser Arafat has an affair with this woman? Like, was it something known in society?
Inside.
Okay.
Inside Fatah, yes. That's outside.
Okay. So inside Fatah, people know, but in the public doesn't know about it.
And it's called actually Arafat from offender to dictator.
Okay.
So it's talking about Arafat from the beginning till the end and how he became actually a dictator even inside Fatah. Because he represented a threat to his authority. He was going to be the next. People wanted him to be the next president, and because of that, he was like, I want him out of the way.
Basically, it just so happens that anyone who opposes Yasser Arafat ends up dead in a very convenient sort of manner.
So Marwan Barghouti, Arafat is the one who gave him to the Zionists. Because he represented a threat to his authority. He was going to be the next. People wanted him to be the next president, and because of that, he was like, I want him out of the way.
There was a poet, and this is like a Jahili poet, right? And he loved his poetry, so he'd be reciting his poetry all the time. And one day he came, and he was just like he was just really sad. And I was like, what happened, Malik? And he's like, you know the poetry I recite, the guy? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, he was one of the worst enemies of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now I love his poetry, but I hate him.
Because he represented a threat to his authority. He was going to be the next. People wanted him to be the next president, and because of that, he was like, I want him out of the way.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Tania. Welcome to the channel, and you're our second guest ever. And alhamdulillah, the first guest we had was our teacher, and you're also one of our teachers. So I'm glad to have you. Welcome to the channel, and please introduce yourself and take your time. Okay? Yeah, let's just begin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Tania Nablousi, Palestinian from Nablus city, but I live in Badawi camp for refugees in North Lebanon. I'm an artist and an activist, if you want, part of Arabic Palestinian Cultural Club also, and the boycott campaign in Lebanon, and many other things. So it's a long list, but alhamdulillah, yeah. And basically everything I do is about Palestine Islam, especially when it comes to art. So this is how it is, and I love cats.
Okay, and you also, I know, because she studies with us, and we learn from her, and she learns from us, inshallah. Hopefully, right? So, do you want to go into your editing? The editing you do, and kind of a bit of your academic background, anything like that, just so that the viewers know what you do, what you study, where you're coming from, just your background in those terms.
I have what do you call it? A licensed degree in plastic arts from the Lebanese University, and also I have diploma in Palestinian studies, in Zionist studies, and recently about boycott studies and anti-normalism, and also what is mostly like that, but yeah, this is most of the things that I studied.
Awesome. And today we are here to, as I said, put Yasser Arafat on a trial, because you had some really interesting things to say about Yasser Arafat the other day. So I thought, okay, let's invite her and put him on trial, right? Inshallah, as historians, not as lawyers or judges, because we don't have that authority, sadly. But as students of history, inshallah, we can put him on trial and see what's up. So your claim, as I remembered, was Yasser Arafat is a traitor, right? And so, Allah, Let's begin the trial.
Okay. So let me make something clear, by the way. He has a lot of fans, by the way, even Palestinian community.
Yeah.
They love him a lot. They forget what he did, or sometimes they know what he did, but in the same time, they're like, at least he's better than Mahmoud Abbas. It's like, to me, there's no such thing as a less traitor and more traitor. There's only traitor.
There's only
So,
three.
yeah, so they always say that at least he's less, he's not as valuable as Mahmoud Abbas.
Yeah, no spectrum in khayana.
This is a bad argument to take.
Yeah. I mean, if I was
Yeah, so
if our standards had, worse than, like, it's like saying worse than Hitler. Like, there's not much room there. So inshallah.
exactly. Either you're a killer or not killer.
Exactly.
And Yasser Arafat was also a killer. So
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So that's also one of your claims. He was a killer, and he was a kind of cutthroat, ruthless leader who basically rose to the ranks, you know, and took over a lot of the Palestinian movement. Just for the viewers, I would like you to begin with just kind of, for those who don't know, just to give an idea of, okay, who was Yasser Arafat, what's his role in the Palestinian struggle, for good or for bad. Just kind of introduce Yasser Arafat for those who don't know.
So Yasser Arafat was supposed to be the first leader of Fatah, which is not correct also. That's also a mistake in history, but I knew that from my mom, by the way, because she was in Fatah, that he was not the first leader. The first leader was Abdel Fattah Mahmoud. Yasser Arafat came to Fatah in 1966. Fatah was made in 1965. So he joined in 1966, and also he became a leader after Abdel Fattah Mahmoud was suddenly killed in a strange kind of way. Subhanallah.
Yeah.
And then, okay. So then after that, he became like the face of Fatah. Okay, so he's always the one on the TV, always the one who was talking. So people thought that he's the leader, or consider him like he's the hero of Fatah, which is also not correct, because behind him, and not just behind him, actually because the co-founders, there were many. One of them was Abu Jihad al-Wazir, Khalil al-Wazir. We have Abu Iyad, Salah Khalaf, have also Abu Yusuf al-Najjar, and all of them were great leaders, by the way. They were great fighters, and they were like strategic leaders. You have others who worked in arming, so they were in the land. They were fighting in the land, and they were the leaders who did most of the things, if not everything. So Arafat also was known by his kufiya. It was like, to me, this is something that always makes me frustrated, because people tell me, yeah, you're wearing the kufiya of Arafat, or the khitiyar. I call them al-khitiyar, which means the old man. It was like, no, looking seriously, no, kufiya is a really big history for kufiya, that even before Arafat even maybe it was born. So you can't just say and tell me like it's Arafat. Anyway, about that, the way that he put his kufiya, and it's like, yay, look, he put it in the same way as the map. So
Yeah.
again, this doesn't to make him like a hero. So we start to talk about any something that is not so important, just to make him something that is something important.
Okay.
Okay, and yeah, this is basically who he is. His name is not Yasser Arafat. His first name is, I forgot his first name, but he's from Al Qudwa family. His last name is Al Qudwa. Yasser Arafat is his what do you call it? I don't know the word, but like anyone who works in the military, usually they have, or in the revolution, they have two names.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what name of
Okay. And his kunya was Abu Ammar, I believe.
he's gonna
So basically, what I'm getting from this is that you have Al Fatah, right? And in Fatah, you have multiple leaders, or what you can call co-founders of Al Fatah, and they're doing on-ground work, they're doing strategy, they're doing planning, all this stuff. But Yasser Arafat, since he's a media person, and he's showing up on TV and showing up on different media platforms, he's getting that kind of, he's becoming the hero while other people are doing the job in the background, right? And where does that lead him, right? For those who don't know, what happens, let's say in the 70s and the 80s, what makes him so famous? Why is he so important to us now?
Whenever, for example, like we have, Fatah was a strong movement. It's a movement. And it means actually, let's say, Palestinian a movement for liberation of Palestine. Movement for Palestine, for liberating Palestine. So Fatah was the strongest party, or the strongest movement, Palestinian movement, in between all the Palestinians, by the way. It was the first one that was Palestinian made, solely Palestinian made, like not someone came and make it. And it was actually it happened in Kuwait. Actually, it didn't start in Palestine; it started in Kuwait by these co-founders the founders that I told you about. And sorry about the cat. And also, and also, Fatah, they have like big connection with basically with everyone around the world.
Okay.
Like they have connection with, in Africa, you have many countries. They will support each other, by the way. If we're talking about weapons, if we're talking about money, and even Fatah was actually, people would come to Fatah to train, military training. They would come to Fatah from around the world to do some training. And people would come from around the world actually to help Fatah or to help the Palestinian revolution, because this one, like, it was the the beginning of the revolution was the same day of the beginning of Fatah, of the initiation of Fatah. Okay, so what happens is that people would come to fight for Palestine. They would do a lot of stuff for Palestine, by the way. And Fatah was considered really, really strong. So it wasn't just something small. And it was that the point that even when it was in Jordan or it was in Lebanon, they told that this is like a state inside a state, because they considered like it was actually called in Lebanon Fatah land. This much.
Wow. Okay. And that's like,
Seriously.
yeah. And this is post, I suppose, the Black September that happened in 1970, the exodus from Jordan.
When they came to Lebanon. Exactly, when they came to
Yeah.
Lebanon.
And even when they were in Jordan, they were strong enough to be called a state inside a state, right? Or a state within a state. So what I'm getting from this is that they're a homegrown movement. They're extremely strong. They have a lot of followers, even globally, and they have a military component to them, which is very, it's organized and it's strong, right? A militant, homegrown military component. Okay. So what most people would know Yasser Arafat for is, his peace deals or the Oslo process and the Camp David. So let's just kind of move towards, okay, why is he starting as a militant guy, right? Fighting, and then he's going towards a peace process, a very weak one, as anyone who has studied the peace process would tell you. And then he's ending up in Camp David, and he's just rejecting Camp, like, as or at least that's the Zionist talking point, which is that he is the one who, the problem with Camp David, he's the reason why it doesn't succeed. So let's kind of move towards that. Okay, why is he going from what we would call a mujahid, or a jihadi, basically a militant, right? What usually people would call, not me, and then he's going towards a peace process, and then he is basically, according to the Zionist, ending the peace process. What's happening? What do you think is really happening?
Something first. I'm about to recommend for you a book about this, because actually, while I was preparing, I was like, I never thought that I would actually find an English book about this. And it's called actually Arafat from Defender to Dictator.
Okay.
So it's talking about Arafat from the beginning till the end and how he became actually a dictator even inside Fatah, by the way. And yeah, and the writer's name is Saeed Abu Rish.
Saeed Abu Rish. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That I'll put up the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so actually, from the beginning, he started talk in about how he was supposed to come as, from my knowing, actually, he didn't come actually as a defender, he didn't come even actually as a revolutionary, or even as you said, so-called jihadi. But from the beginning, he came inside to destroy Fatah. It wasn't like to destroy the revolution, to stop the revolution from happening, actually. And it was really hard at the beginning, because in the beginning of the revolution, it was all about freeing all Palestine. It wasn't about just, the so-called two-state. It's not a solution, so I'm not going to give it a solution. And it was about that what is taken by force should be we should kick out by force.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's always been like that from the beginning, and it was fraud. Like, even like non-model actually was telling me that this is how it was from the beginning, when it was in Fatah, and it was in PLO. Okay, and with PLO, as we know, the first president of PLO was Ahmad al-Shuqayli, not Arafat. Again, because some people will say that Arafat was the president of PLO, which is also not correct. So what I want to say is, from the beginning, he was, as I said, the first one who was Abdel Fattah Mahmoud was killed in a mysterious kind of way, was in Jordan. And directly after that, Arafat, who wasn't, he's a new person, suddenly became the leader of Fatah. That was like really mysterious. It was strange. And yeah, to me, I am saying again that he has a hand in it.
Okay.
Like a feeling. If you want to say a feeling, but to me, I know that it's like,
No.
but it's
As I said, this is a trial, so you don't hold back. Yeah. Okay.
level them back, because actually you will find actually that other leaders also were killed mysteriously, or supposed to be mysteriously, and sometimes with Mossad and stuff. But you find finally that Arafat is related in a way.
Okay. So
we'll talk about it later. But I want to say that when he started with the, as you said, about Oslo and stuff like that, but actually the talk about the two-state wasn't actually in 1993. It's actually started from 1969.
Okay.
This is when it was started with, this is like, and even my mom actually today sent it to me. She told me, like, Daniel, you have to know something, so you will know it, that you need to say it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to say it.
Okay.
And subhanAllah, you asked the question. And it was like, sadly, the Arabic countries who were supposed to be supportive of the Palestinian revolution at that time, who said that they were supportive of the Palestinian revolution, and with PLO in the leadership also of Arafat, and also with Arafat, they started working on that we want a two-state, and that we want to acknowledge the so-called Israel in the lands of Palestine.
Okay.
So it's from the beginning, this is how it started to do. But it was so hard, as I said, because the revolution was about freeing all Palestine, and that we're talking about armed struggle and all this. And then they were like, it took on. That's why it took more than 20 years to start talk about it. Okay, and sadly, this has happened in what means conference, a conference that happened in Aljazair. Okay.
Yeah.
And it happened in in the 80s and 1989. And this is when Arafat, which is going to be funny actually to say, announced the independence of Palestine.
Okay.
It's like, what are you talking about? Doesn't make sense. Like, how can you say from you are Africa talking about independence of Palestine? I don't that even makes sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So what happened is that in that time he talked about the two states directly.
Okay.
He said that we acknowledge that there are states so-called Israel in the land of Palestine, but also at the same time we have an independence to a land called Palestine.
Okay.
So it doesn't make sense.
Okay. So what I'm getting, what I'm getting from you is that from 1969, he already has a plan to recognize Israel, make a kind of deal to get any piece of land called Palestine, and just basically become a leader of it. But because of the revolution, because of the revolutionary fervor, because of the fact that he would lose popular support, he could not come out and say it openly. But then he has to wait to get to a point where he can come out and say, or because of practical reasons, we have to go towards a two-state solution. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, by the way, there's not so much. Yeah, because but also we have to be more. What do you call it? More clear when we say about something that not when someone want to say this kind of plan, they will not come and say like from the same moment that they get to leadership or something like,
Yeah.
I'm going to state directly. Would find people will say no, they will pause and say no and everything. But when he's working on it step by step, and also in the hush hush, as we said. So it wasn't like people would know about it. It was because people were fighting for the whole Palestine, and suddenly their leader would come after like 20, like after 20 years, he would talk about it. He needed 20 years actually. This much. This is how it is. Like this is how we know that he worked hard, and also because also in the same book that I told you about, by the way, this Abolishi talked about how 1973 Arafat had connection with the CIA. It was his first connection with the CIA. And then when I asked Mom, did something happen in 1973? Because I remember something happened in 1973. It's like, yeah, there was like, what do you call it? When soldiers come from planes and get down on the land in Zal. What does in Zal mean?
Is that basically they descended from the helicopters?
Yeah, from the plane, it attacked an area.
Okay. Basically, there was an operation.
Yeah, and inspiration that happened actually, it was in Badawi camp.
Okay. Okay, the one you live in.
And yeah, yeah, and it's like, okay, that is not like a coincidence. That can't be like a coincidence. No, it doesn't make sense. I'm actually because of that. A lot of people thought.
Can you repeat the last statement because there was a connection problem? Can you repeat the last statement, please? Repeat the last statement. Connection was.
Yeah. So in 1973, Abbas had his first connection or his first connection with CIA.
Okay.
He had a meeting with CIA in 1973. That was an operation, a military operation by the Zionists that they attacked Badr and in North Lebanon. And a lot of people were killed in that part. And to me, this is coincidence. It doesn't make sense to be.
Okay. So what you're implying is that Arafat had something to do with the attack on the Bedawi camp, the operation on Bedawi camp.
I feel that he might not even, maybe he doesn't have like a direct connection, but it doesn't make sense. It's like maybe they told him like, don't fight at that time, or maybe they told him like, give support at that time or something like that, but because a lot of people were killed in that. And also it was like, why in the same time? So, having it in the same time will make it suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense in the way that, like, for example, I don't think even if let's assume he did not have anything to do with it directly, but what could have happened is they basically tested him and said, okay, we're gonna attack this place, and we don't want any interference, and this can be your a kind of show of allegiance, like, okay, I'm willing to negotiate, I'm willing to lay down the arms, and I'm willing to go in a different directions. Right. So, okay. Now, so what I think there's a connection problem. Right.
I hear you.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, now we have basically covered a few things, right? So we have covered that Yasser Arafat, he comes with this intention of, okay, I'm going to recognize the state of Israel. And he's coming in very mysterious ways where people are dying, high leadership is dying, and he rises to power in a very quick and very kind of shady manner. right? And now when he takes over, he starts to work to basically lay the grounds for the Oslo Accords, or basically a peace process. What we should call a PIECE, peace process, right? Because what he wants is a piece of Palestine that he can rule over. So he starts this peace process, and that's what you're going with. But let's talk about, like, okay, what proof do you have that, okay, he's connected to Mossad or he's connected to CIA? You said he had a started connection with 1973, but what makes him such a shady person? Can't someone come around and say, oh, maybe he was genuine, he had good intentions, he went towards the two-state solution because he thought, it's not pragmatic, it's not realistic to think we can liberate the whole of Palestine. Like, what would you say to that?
By the way, they say that all the time. People in
Yeah.
Fatah, they always say that.
Exactly. I'm just repeating.
And then they will add also that he was so fresh. Yeah. And they actually will be even more than that. They will talk, he was so pressured that, he was like, he was going to kill him and everything. It's like, okay, let him kill him and like, what's the big deal? Like, be a martyr with your own with good principles and not be that, like, being corrupted. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, we have. It's not like we don't have people dying. So martyrdom is not something.
Yeah, so it's not on others. No one is better than others. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
To me, actually, it's more about that there are a lot of witnesses from inside that talk about that. They talked about everything that he did, and whenever a shady or an assassination would happen to any leader, you will directly find that something is suspicious that's going on. That this assassination could have been prevented, and somehow, but it wasn't. And then there will be you will know that Arafat has a hand in it. If we're talking about that, for example, I'm gonna say, if we're talking about Abu Jihad, even before I'm talking about the assassination of Abu Jihad, Abu Jihad, as I said, was a military leader. So he wasn't a political leader. He was a military leader. And he actually had this idea. It was a good idea at that time, but at the same time, he had a little fault in it, which is that he had a lot of groups, by the way. They were secret groups. In every place in Lebanon. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And they were like fighting and everything. But this group doesn't know the other groups. They will only know how the connection that they have with Abu Jihad. This was the only wrong decision that he made, because after he was killed, they couldn't really connect with each other, and eventually this network that he did.
The network collapsed. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I want to say about is that subhanAllah, Abu Ammar, whenever he went to any base of this group, okay, after he leaves in a few minutes, they will be get bombed by the Zionists. Like,
In a mysterious way. Yeah.
Yeah, like no one knows about this group. No one knows about this base.
Yeah.
And how the Mossad knew? How the military the Zionists knew about it?
Yeah.
No one knew about it, even inside Fatah. And suddenly, after a visit from Arafat, they will be banned. So it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. And then we want to continue to the assassination of Abu Jihad. The assassination of Abu Jihad was also really, really shady in the fact that where were the guards? They were supposed to have. He made them flee. This has happened after that they left Lebanon.
Okay, let's walk through it. Let's walk the viewers through. Okay, how did Abu Jihad die? So give me a scenario. What was happening? Where was he? What was happening? How did it go?
Abu Jihad was killed in Tunisia.
Okay.
After that, they left Beirut. By the way, the Fidaiyin, they were forced to leave. They didn't want to leave, by the way. But that decision was made by Arafat, and also, as my mom told me, they were actually behind enemy lines, as we say. So they were actually approaching, doing like really victorious stuff, and suddenly like get back.
Yeah.
And that was like shocking thing for a lot of Fidaiyin. So in that time when he left to when they left and he left to Tunisia, he was actually writing a letter. He said he sent a letter. He told Arafat many times, "I'm going to Damascus. I'm not staying there because Damascus is clear and it's near Palestine. And also there was a lot of, by the way, training. The military training were happening not just in Lebanon, they were happening in Syria also. Syria was also a place for Palestinians to be able to fight, and it was totally allowed for it. Okay, so what happened is that when they evacuated, as we say, from Lebanon in 1982, okay, when that happened, actually, and they left, he said that I want to leave. I want to go back. I can't stay here. Like, I feel like I'm so far away from home. I'm so far away from Palestine. I can't do anything directly.
Yeah.
I need to fight. So I'm a military person.
Yeah.
And he would refuse. And he was actually writing that letter saying that that's it, I'm going back. He was writing this letter that I'm going back. I'm not. And while he was writing it, actually, Zionists from the Mossad came inside and they shot him.
Okay.
And it was like, how did they were able to go inside his house this easily? Like, we're talking about a leader that should have guards, and also we're talking in Arabic land, and they knew where he lived, know the house, and they got inside clear, and they knew where he was, in which room.
Yeah.
Because they went there directly, and they shot him.
Yeah.
And also his wife was there, which is actually also another sad thing, that she was also a fighter. She's a leader also.
Yeah.
But she didn't even defend him, which was also another question mark. And now she's known and respected and Fatah by Arafat and everyone. So it's like, again, another reason.
Okay.
Another reason to find reason. SubhanAllah. And he was killed. So this was, the guards that disappeared.
Yeah.
Then look at maybe were two guards and they didn't do anything to fight the Zionists. They freed them.
So what you're saying is that there was supposed to be people guarding him, right? So you're saying
that also the help of Muhammad Abbas was extended.
okay. So what you're saying is there were supposed to be people guarding him, but there is no fight between Mossad and him. There's just a clear shot. They go in, they know where he is, they know where, that they will find him. They have some kind of information, and they go in, they just kill him. There is no fighting. There is no, exchange of fire.
That's pure assassination.
It's okay. Yeah, that's really shady. Okay, I mean, yeah.
It was supposed to be like, they always say that Arafat, to respect him and love him. They were friends and everything. Like, if he is your friend, you shouldn't be like protecting him.
Yeah, but let me play the devil's advocate. And the devil's advocate, for those who don't know, is basically kind of, you don't believe a point, but you're saying it just so that you can argue all the points, right? So you're just arguing for the sake of arguing. So let me play the devil's advocate and let me ask. We saw a lot of assassinations in Iran, a lot of really big people, Iranians and from the Palestinian leadership, have been killed in Iran in the last year. And a lot of them were really clean assassinations, as we would say. Right? So would you say that we can kind of take the same mantra and say, because for the same reason, we can say, okay, Iran also has a lot of people who have infiltrated to a great extent, and they know the whereabouts of the leaders, and there is insider information happening. Would you say that is something we can say?
That you mean that there are inside?
There's infiltration, there's infiltration in the administration of Iran. There's people working with Mossad inside the administration.
I'm not surprised if something like that exists, by the way. Even if we're talking about Iran, by the way. Even because treason, like, the Zionists have one of the strongest investigation,
intelligence agents,
intelligence in the world, and everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So it's not easy actually to defend them, and already we know that it doesn't have the strongest investigation. Situation, sort of investigation, and they have the strongest is with Hezbollah, actually, they have the strongest investigation. And also, we're talking about it's Mossad. It's clear, we already know that.
Yeah.
So to be able to go inside, that's normal. So it happens. But even if we're talking about, if you want to say that when it was clear that the Zionists, they needed help, even in that. Okay, so they had, people were arrested because they worked with the Mossad, which means that also in Fatah, there were people who work with Mossad. So this is not like, so it's always, because we have like this idea that we always talk about how Palestine, the reason that Palestine is, some would say gone, it's not gone. We're gonna free it.
Inshallah, never.
But what I mean, inshallah. So, but when people say that, it's always the reason that there was like treason, traitors.
Yeah.
The first reason is traitor. Like we got traitors from Arabics. We got created by even by the the British government. So like, get away from our country, leave us alone. But they decided to hand us to Zionists. We had treason from inside, and here we're talking about Arafat because he started it. Okay, so so treason is plausible, just nothing that doesn't exist. And anyone who says that, and this is something that we feel honored about it. We don't. We're really mad about that. But subhanAllah, we had this situation and we're dealing with it till now. And now we have to this result that would actually, people are still killing and people are being killed and others were being tortured and imprisoned because of Arafat, by the way, because he also has in history that he captured people and gave them to the Zionists. Which is also another like thing that this will get to PLF also when he's the one who gave Ahmed Sadat to the Zionist, and he's also in capture right now.
Okay, so he's basically holding people and giving them to the Zionist as a kind of gift, kind of I'm working with you.
Anyone who are basically also, because then we will talk about Marwan Barghouti. Marwan Barghouti is one of the leaders of Fatah, and he was actually the head of the youth in Fatah, students in Fatah. And also he was loved by a lot of people. He still loved by a lot of people. Until now they're thinking they want him to be the next president of the Palestinian Authority. Anyway, that's why Mahmoud Abbas doesn't want him to get out and try his best with the Zionists that Hamas won't be able to get him out in the deals, the current deals that happened for Kabul. Yeah. So Marwan Barghouti, Arafat is the one who gave him to the Zionists, because he represented a threat to his authority. He was going to be the next. People wanted him to be the next president, and because of that, he was like, I want him out of the way. So what should I do? I will do as usual. I will work with the Zionists until I'm like, take him away. And I was taken by some kind of deal with Arafat in that time. So he has this history of doing such things.
Okay, so we have covered quite a bit of his outside activities, as I would like to put it, but we are inshallah gonna, because you mentioned a lot of his family stuff as well, or at least something like personal life that points to the case you're making. But before we get into that, in fact, no, we're gonna get into that, and after that, I'm gonna inshallah talk about. I have a few questions just for you regarding these things, just from a Palestinian perspective, just so I can get that. But let's just get into that, okay? You talk about a lot of personal connections he had to Mossad, or people connected to Mossad, or something like that. So let's just get into that.
Yeah, so Arafat, as I said, at first he has a connection with CIA, as we said, from 1973, but also he has, when Oslo happened, I'm not saying that also not just with the Mossad, by the way, has connection. He has like with the whole Zionist state, and like he has like really actually close connection. Like when Rabin was killed, for example, the head of the Zionist was killed by another Zionist from them. Hopefully Netanyahu will be next. He went actually to pay condolences to them, to his wife, and he even kissed her hand. It was like, this is too much. You know, this is so humiliating for us as Palestinians, and you know, to see that the one who is supposed to be your president is actually kissing the hand of the wife. She's also a Zionist, so it doesn't matter. Like, but I'm not talking about also the wife of the man who is Rabin, who was one of the people who actually, literally, was one of the people who occupied Palestine in 1948.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that, like, you know, so just,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
this is
exactly.
doesn't make sense. And he like, and this wasn't the first time. Wasn't the first time. And he said it, but there were a lot of videos. But if you look around, you'll find a lot of videos. He would talk about the peace between the two states, the peace between the children. I don't know what. And he keeps, and when Oslo happened, if you look closely to the video, when Rabin came to shake hands, he doesn't want to shake hands. Rabin, you know, he wasn't that. I don't want to shake hands with Arafat.
Yeah.
He's forced to do. He was forced to do that.
Yeah.
But Arafat, he would like directly. He's like, yes, you know.
Yeah.
Like, why are you this happy about doing a deal with the Zionists? Like, you know, like you're being so happy about it that it's so clear that you have like he's like your brother, or like he's like, you know, I'm doing like a great deal for myself. So it was like, doesn't make sense, you know. And by the way, a lot of people in Fatah would tell you like he wasn't the one who signed. It was Ahmed Abbas who signed. Like, what? Yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
That's what Ahmed Abbas. He was the one who was telling him.
Exactly.
No, so you will find a lot of stupid things
Excuses, but
today. But yeah, a lot of excuses. And he talks about it. He talked about it a lot, by the way. So it's not also about the Mossad. So it's not like maybe at the Mossad, work with the Mossad. What talk about, for example, Najir Ali, when Najir Ali was killed. Talking about Abu Iyad also was killed. But by the way, Abu Iyad was killed. Some resources would say about that Abu Iyad was killed with another one called Abu Hol, which is Hayr Abdul Hamid, his name. Abu Iyad was Salah Khalaf. They would say that they were killed by someone who are from Abu Nidal front, which is the Revolutionist Council. Revolution Council, this is what it's called. This is actually another part of Fatah. But also that happened with the help of the Mossad at that time. So it was like,
yeah.
why some from Fatah come and kill, and you know? So it was like, this is, you said that this person is from, you said like, this is like, I'm talking about resources that I'm talking about from Fatah, you know, people who were there, people who say, this is from Fatah, and he killed them. And with the help of the Mossad, it was like, why there's someone from Fatah helping with the Mossad?
Yeah.
To kill another leader who was actually, and also because he killed Abu Iyad when Abu Iyad was talking loudly about that he disagreed with what Arafat's saying. Because Abu Iyad talked about that he doesn't agree with that. He disagree with having what do you call it, peace process with the enemy, and to even have any kind of peace with Zionists, that we should be fighting, and we're talking about the armed struggle, and that we should fight till the end to free all Palestine, everything. And he said it many times. And this was like a threat to Arafat, because people would follow Abu Iyad. They know Abu Iyad, who is one of the biggest leaders of Fatah, as Abu Jihad, and they love him a lot. So he was afraid. So also after that, he was killed. So again, another, you know, what do you call it? Storm that was removed from the
Yeah. Yeah.
Arafat
Yeah. So basically, it just so happens that anyone who opposes Yasser Arafat ends up dead in a very convenient sort of manner. Yeah, I guess I think people can put two and two together and see what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Let's go towards his wife, and you know, as I said, it feels like I'm doing like you know, a sort of ghiba.
Is it good?
Yeah, but as we know, yeah, exactly. But inshallah, this is not a ghiba. This is because you know he's a public figure, and this is public information. So let's get into that. You said some things about, you know, his wife. I don't know. Can you go into that?
From the beginning, Suha Arafat was also talk in the same way about having peace process with designers. After Arafat died, she left. By the way, she did stay in Palestine. Actually, before he was dead, actually she left Palestine. So to be outside of Palestine and talking about it is like another thing that to me this is important. And she had the same idea, and she had a lot of money, which is like, where did you get this money? Again, this is like also we're talking about corruption that happened at that time, and even his daughter, because he has one daughter, Zahua, she also had the same idea talking about it. She doesn't have any problem with working with the Zionist or having friends as Zionist, and you feel like this is, if you're talking here about the leader, the people who talk, the revolutionary leader.
Yeah.
Okay. And his wife and his daughter are also talking about normalization. This is how he,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it has. I'm for when I'm about beginning. His father is the what the son-in-law of Hussein. I mean, so yeah, and they came. By the way, he was born in Arafat was born in Egypt. He wasn't born even in Palestine nor in Kuwait. This is why I'm saying that when people say, and then we'll tell you also that he had another family. Some would talk about it. It's not. No one. Some would say it's accurate. Some would say it's not accurate. But they have family in Morocco, and that this family that they have are actually Jewish.
Who?
So it's like
Once again, who? Once again, whose family is Jewish?
Arafat.
Arafat's family. Once
The
again,
father of Arafat is actually a Jewish person, and I was like,
once again, is this true? Are you being real?
Actually, some people say it's true because and I was like, and some people say no, this is not true. This is not true. But yeah, he has relatives in Morocco, but no, it's not true. I was like, I'm not sure, but from what he's doing to me, it's like he's even worse than he's Jewish.
Yeah, now, it wouldn't really matter. Even if it was true, it wouldn't really matter because his actions are what we are really concerned with. But it is something interesting. Just having that kind of background is interesting. Yeah. Okay. And last.
Is it that we tried to,
Yeah. Please finish. Please finish.
I'll take that about his father that he went into the family of Al Husseini, and he was only, by the way, he was just a T-boy, as we call it, like at first.
Oh yeah.
He worked like someone who would just, serve the sheikh and be with next to them, and bit by bit, and then he married him to his daughter.
Okay.
He's supposed to be a good person, but like, yeah, maybe I'm being a little suspicious about a lot of stuff, but he's like, I don't feel comfortable about his whole family anymore because of what's going on in Palestine and everything. So it also has related to that, But yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is just obviously this is supplemental information. It's not your primary core of. It's not the core of your argument, but yeah, there's. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces that kind of point in the same direction. Let's talk about finally let's talk about Mahmoud Darwish. And you said you don't like Mahmoud Darwish because he likes Yasser Arafat. Is there anything more to
Not
that?
because he likes Yasser Arafat. No, not because he likes Yasser Arafat. He is a best friend to him. It's true. But I don't like Mahmoud Darwish because actually he's another traitor.
Okay.
Look, Mahmoud Darwish, he became, he went into being a member of Rakah party. Rakah party is a communist leftist party, Zionist one. It's actually the so-called Israeli communist party. This is what's
Okay.
its name, no?
Yeah.
So it's like, you're a Palestinian, even if you live in Palestine, and I'm talking about Palestine 48.
Yeah.
Okay, so even if you have the nationality, that doesn't give you an excuse to enter a Zionist party. And that's why we were talking also. We're also against the Knesset, the people, Palestinian people, to go inside Knesset, and until now we aren't. But yeah, that doesn't make sense also to be in Knesset as Palestinians. But anyway, and also he would make, because he's a poet, So he would do like conferences and salons for poetry and poets, and he would invite Zionist poets. Like, what are you doing?
Okay.
Especially that your poet was supposed to be about resistance,
Yeah.
revolution in Palestine, and everything. And then again, it doesn't make sense to me. This is too much.
Yeah. If only the liberals in Pakistan could speak Arabic, they would love Mahmoud Darwish. The liberals in Pakistan, they would love Mahmoud Darwish.
Yeah. And then to add on top of that he loved a Zionist military woman.
Yeah.
She was
Military woman. Interesting.
She was a soldier. She was a soldier. She was a soldier. It was like, yeah, in the Marine Force something. I don't know what it was called.
Interesting.
And he made a poetry about her named Rita. Between my eyes and بين عيني بين ريتا وعيني بندقية. Between Rita and me, there's a rifle. This is the name of the poetry, and I was like, it's a beautiful poet. Sadly, it's a beautiful poet. Like, I know that he has beautiful poetry, but also it sucks.
Yeah.
He's a traitor. That means everything he does, he sucks.
Yeah.
Doesn't really know.
I'll give you a funny story. My friend from America, we were studying Arabic, and we were supposed to present on one of a poet. So presenting poetry on one of the classical poets, and there was a poet, and this is like a Jahili poet, right? And he loved his poetry, so he'd be reciting his poetry all the time. And one day he came, and he was just like he was just really sad. And I was like, "What happened, Malik?" And he's like, the poetry I recite, the guy. And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "He was one of the worst enemies of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now I love his poetry, but I hate him." So this is a similar situation, yeah.
But not right now. I hate all his poets. So I'm like, whenever I see Mahmoud, I was like, I don't want to.
Well, my friend started hating his poetry as well. So he actually changed his project, and he was like, "I'm not going to recite his poetry." Okay. So before we move on,
But also, this is when you have to go to about Arafat. He has a connection with Arafat. As I said, he has a friend, and one of the friends that he had is Rashida Mahran.
Okay.
Rashida Mahran was a journalist, an Egyptian journalist, and she was actually, and people in Fatah know that, well, not the recent people, because they are so young. As my mom said, these are kids. Those who exist right now, they are kids, because they don't know what happened in the
Exactly.
Before. She had sadly an affair with Yasser Arafat, and people knew about it. So what happened is Najil Ali, who was a caricature, and also he was one of the he's my role model as an artist, by the way.
Yeah.
Because he's so revolutionary. He held his principles no matter what, and eventually they killed him because of his principles. And the caricature about Rashida Mahran was the one that led to his assassination, basically. And the assassination was directed by Yasser Arafat. And also with the agreement, with the approval of Mahmoud Darwish, because also in this caricature, Najil Ali is actually sending a message also to Mahmoud Darwish. Because in this man, do you know Rashida Mahran? Like, I don't know Rashida Mahran, but like, if you don't know Rashida Mahran, how can you be in this something about cultural something? I forgot the name. I will send you the caricature if you want. And this was directed to Mahmoud Darwish also. And eventually they killed them. And it was known that because Najil Ali, that wasn't the first time that he talked about Mahmoud Darwish in his caricature. It doesn't show, because he also like, how can you, one of the caricatures actually, he was asking him, like, questioning him, like, how can you invite Zionist poets to, to any conference or anything you're doing. So also he was, in a caricature, he had that directly, so it was clear. And he always attacked Yasser Arafat, by the way, in his caricature, and you find a lot of, it's clear that this is Yasser Arafat in the caricature, so it's not like he didn't hide it. And he talked about it the way he talked about it verbally in interviews and stuff like that. So when he did this caricature, Yasser Arafat was furious, and he called Abu Iyad, and he told them that this man should be ended.
Yeah.
I want him. This is what he said. Abu Iyad was, as I said, was a good person, but he's a military person, so he need to, get the orders done. But what he did is actually he called the journal that published the caricature, which is Al Qabas.
Yeah.
It's a Kuwaitian journal.
Okay.
And they told him, "What did you do? Like, how can you publish this caricature?" And like, "What's going on? What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, Arafat called me."
Yeah. Okay.
About it, and you have to get him to safety. This is the person. This is what he told the head of the, and he tried actually. Then said the head of the journal. He tried to save him. He took him from London, put him in a train to take him to another. He was in London at that time, Najil Ali, to another place. But Najil Ali actually got up from the train and got into another train to come back to London, because he was like, "I know I was killed," because over the way he used to have his wife and his son would talk about it. Always have calls threaten them that he's going to be
Okay.
from Arafat. And then he went to London, and he knew he was going to be killed. He didn't care. He was killed. Actually, he was assassinated, and they never found the culprit. But they say that it was, it was obvious it was Mossad also, but they never found him. And he was killed. He stayed in coma for a month, and then he died in this month, by the way, in 1986.
Okay.
So, subhanallah. So again, Arafat has an idea, and this is another my role model. No,
Okay. Okay.
but
And did Rashida Mehran, the journalist, did she have connections with the Zionist?
not sure,
Not sure.
not
Okay.
sure. But she had it was obvious that she's someone important, by the way.
Okay. Okay.
It was obvious that she was someone important, and she was, because she existed in many of the places that Yasser Arafat used to exist, especially when they go to Egypt. So you don't know.
And
I don't know.
was it an open secret that he is Yasser Arafat has an affair with this woman? Like, was it something known in society?
Inside,
Okay.
inside Fatah, yes. But outside
Okay.
Fatah, no.
So inside Fatah, people know, but in the public doesn't know about it.
At that time, by the way, there wasn't like right now you find social media, and people will talk about it all the time and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I mean, these things weren't something that's so important, because at that time there was a lot of wars and stuff, so people would only talk about all this stuff, but not the personal life of. It was rarely that people would talk about personal life, so not all people would know. But inside Fatah, they knew, because, as I said, killed a lot around him. So
Okay. And how detrimental would it be to, let's say, Yasser Arafat's character, or basically his, the perception in the Palestinian societies, if the Zionist had disclosed that he was sleeping around or he had an affair with this woman? Like, would it have an impact on him? Would it cost him anything?
he would lose face, basically, credibility.
Okay.
Be like, people will not. It was like, this is our leader, supposed to be like a big one. And as I said again, his grandfather is Bahraini.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't have and he's supposed to be like a Muslim leader, and also in the same time, even at that time, even no matter what, any this kind of thing of talking about adultery or something like that, was looked down upon. It wasn't like people would, no matter how open they are, no matter how in wars they are,
Yeah.
this kind of topics is like a big taboo.
Yeah. It's a big
taboo. So
yeah. It's a big deal.
So you can't call it. Yeah, it's a big deal. And also, but and no one talked about it. But because also, as I said, he was married.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which makes it even. I mean, even for the liberals, that would be a big problem, because he is just not only doing something. He's not only having an affair; he's having an affair while being married, which is, even they don't like that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Before we move on to a kind of some personal questions that I had, before we move on to them, do you have anything else to add? Anything you want to mention? In closing to this portion.
I want to add actually, I do want to add something.
Yes,
Something.
please.
I want to add because to have like because we're talking about trials right now here, because to have more justice to the people actually who were killed in Sabra and Shatila, who were killed in Tal Zatar,
Yeah.
the massacre that happened in these two camps. Sabra and Shatila happened after the evacuation of the Palestinian troops. Okay, and it was because of the, and not just that, they handed over their weapons to their fellow Lebanese resistance. So they don't even have weapons anymore, those who stayed.
Yeah.
And this led to the Zionists to go to the camp and do one of the biggest with the horrific massacres in the world, also with the help of other Lebanese who hated Palestine, the Palestinians at that time, who worked with the Zionists.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this is one of the reasons. So to me, this is one of Arafat had a point has a hand in it, because he had this decision taken. Like, why did you decided this? At least you could have, what you could have done was leave the people, the Palestinians troops who remained in Lebanon still have guns and still have weapons to defend themselves.
Yeah, he totally left them defenseless. Yeah.
Exactly. And actually, all those who were killed actually were women and children mostly. Most of them were women and children. They were away. As I said, they were away. Their families were away. In Tunisia, and I don't know where. Okay, so and another one of the massacres actually is Al Khola massacre. It happened in Burj Shamali massacre in the south of Lebanon. Also, same situation, because they didn't have the men weren't there. They were killed. Also, about Tal Zatar. Tal Zatar, actually, the situation was they knew they couldn't fight. They knew they couldn't fight. In that time, they actually were talking about those who were killing them were Lebanese Christians. Okay. And with the Zionists, and mostly actually Lebanese Christians, actually. But those Lebanese Christians were talking about working with the Zionists till now. This is the reality. And it was known that they couldn't be, there's no victory in this. And they needed to surrender to at least to have people still alive, so there would be this massacre. Arafat told them, don't surrender. He gave the order not to surrender. And at the same time, he didn't even send anyone to help them. He told them not to surrender, and eventually it was talked about, and I will give you some sources lately, the next, but that he actually, when he did that, he did that because he wanted to give an image, a political image, that we resisted, and that we were killed while we were resisting and stuff like that. And it was like,
Yeah.
we didn't need this kind of political resistance, so he could have a to show himself as a resistant people.
Yeah, basically a media image kind of PR stunt.
Exactly. Yeah, but yeah, this is what happened, and people who survived, they blamed Arafat for it.
Okay.
He left that to the. So this is another one of the reasons. Also, Arafat decided to interfere between Kuwait and Iraq, for example, in the war. Like, why did you interfere? There's no reason for us to interfere in these matters, by the way, because we can't actually help. Like, if you're talking about, we're talking about perceived refugees outside of Palestine. We're not talking about a whole country that's working. And eventually, we had enemies. Like Kuwait, for example, was one of the countries who actually, all the Palestinians in Kuwait, they had, like, to them, till now they will talk about, but the Palestinians were the ones who taught them. They were illiterate, and the Palestinian teachers were the ones who taught them everything. So this much they cared about Palestine, about Palestinians, and they cherished them. And what happened is, eventually, because of that, Kuwait, they actually kicked out Palestinians because of the situation, because he decided to be with Iraq, I guess, Kuwait. So many of his decisions were really, really false. and really got us into really bad situation right now. Like we were one of the strongest people, and subhanallah, these decisions were the worst and got us to a downfall, as if you can use this word, I think. Yeah, and freedom again.
Okay. So if you don't have any other points, I would actually like to go towards some of the questions I had, and can I move on to them? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I have many questions, but I'm just gonna ask the ones that are in my head right now. So the first question would be, when I was reading Rashid Khalidi, the 100 Years War on Palestine, he has a personal touch to it, right? So he goes into how one of the big problems for the Palestinians is always this kind of old sort of leadership, and he talks about uh, Al-Hajj Amin al-Husseini, and he talks about, how he has this problem where he cannot stand a competition to the leadership or any kind of, for the lack of a better word, kind of a democratization of leadership, or, having other people come up and take more leadership roles or take the spotlight. What do you think is the source of this problem? Because what I see here as well is that, we can obviously, you're making a case for him being a traitor, but just this kind of this attitude towards, I need to be in the spotlight, I need to knock out, and as a leader, it gives me the right to just be a complete dictator, a complete, you know, just have authority over life and death in this instance. So, what do you think is propping that up? Because, if I think about, let's say, for example, Islamic teachings, that is not something we see in Islamic teachings. If I think about just, morality in general, that's not something that is praiseworthy. So what do you think, where do you think this attitude is coming from? And how can we remedy that and, at least spot it and think about it, and as we look at our leaders?
Okay, so we're talking about Arafat here, we're talking about Amin al-Husseini.
No, yeah, let's go to Yasser Arafat, because what I'm seeing is Yasser Arafat is a more uh, maximized version of his. This, with Haj Amin al Husseini, I mean, at least I don't know if he was, just going around killing people, anyone who stood up to him, right? And but Rashid Khalidi does make a case for how he had a problem when when other people would rise up to leadership roles or would have different ideas about what to do with the situation. So let's stick to Yasser Arafat. Why do you think we have this big problem?
He narcissistic people, basically. By the way, not just that. We don't have that. And this would question actually. Well, I can't say a careful about any. I say sometimes careful when leaders don't go by by Islamic teachings,
Yeah.
rules. But what I'm going to say, um, Arafat actually wasn't that. He wasn't close to Islam. It was he would go to synagogues, he would go to churches, he would pray with them, he would do everything that, like, what is politically suitable. So it wasn't about religion, so he doesn't care actually. And you only see him sometimes pray only in Jum'ah prayer in Masjid al-Aqsa. No, not in Jum'ah prayer, sorry. In the Eid prayer. So every Eid we would see him, like, they put the Eid prayer in the morning, and you will see him that he would come and pray. And many times it's like, you're not sure actually if he's actually praying or not. Like this much it is like about it. So I don't think that he is uh Islamically,
He's not a religious person. He's not a Mutadayyin person.
but yeah, he wasn't a religious. He doesn't care what he's doing. He's acting provable, but also he is a person. So as we said, because he said he wants to show, he wants to be the only leader. He doesn't want anyone who is oppose him. He would kill them or disregard them or try to find a way to get rid of them. So it's a thing that has to do with his power, the love of power, afraid of dying, afraid of losing. And this actually was shown in the end of his life when he suddenly started to talk about defending the Palestinian people. He still had so-called two states in the same in his speeches, but at the same time he started to like defend resistance in his last days. But it was and they were always telling me like, yeah, he you know he made a tawbah. He doesn't like he's not a traitor anymore. He got back to the right path and stuff like that. He was like, by the way, that's not it. Because to me, I think this was like we knew that his role was over for the Americans because we also know that America would decide who's going to be the next leader, who's not.
Yeah.
And for design, and they needed to. It was like we have to get rid of you. So what he's trying to do is to hoping that maybe he would be saved by his people, or maybe his last, or maybe he would have his last days to be like a hero.
Yeah.
And he tried to do that, and he maybe achieved that because especially when they talk about that he was being poisoned, and even that wasn't that totally sure about this because he was actually sick at the end of the day. So he was sick. Well, obviously that was sick. So people would say he was killed. People would say he was not killed, poisoned. And most of the time we talk about the one who poisoned him was Mahmoud Abbas. Again, so you find all these talks. So he tried to be like a hero in this day because he, as his personality, as I said, he has a narcissistic kind of way. He was always eventually. So it's mostly about how we have to get rid of every narcissistic person we have. Actually, every leader that we have. Talking about, and sadly, there are lots. From CC to MBS to I don't know who. So what's it?
I mean, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem throughout the world, and I'm a student of political philosophy, and one of the things I see is that Plato actually talks about how this comes about to be in a democracy, and how narcissism is something that is basically a natural result of a democratic process, and that's why he believes that in the gradation you go from democracy towards tyranny. But I don't think even in democracy, I don't like when I say democracy, a lot of these groups are not even democracies. But what I mean is that we have a democratic attitude in terms of the way societies are structured. The greatest goal is seen as the pleasure of the self or something along those lines. Let's think about something like Trump, right? Now Trump is, I mean, if there's one word to define Trump, it would be narcissism. The guy cannot stop talking about himself. There's a war that's happened, let's say, like his tweets are basically, I'm not getting enough credit. I stopped this war, I don't get credit. I stopped this war, I don't get credit. And you would be thinking like,
And the last one was actually his last Twitter tweet was like he talked about, I'm trying to stop the starvation in Gaza and no one is thanking me.
yeah, I mean, it's just like the insane level of narcissism these people have is, I mean, it's beyond me. But I again, I'm not surprised as well, because this is what they breed off of. If I look at someone like Trump, I think his people like it when he's being narcissistic. I think because the whole movement is just based on standing out as a media person, having kind of a popular support, and being able to also work with an elite group that can back you up in terms of money, power, and anything else you need. So this is kind of the level this is how we're working with, and a lack of ideological basis for anything. So you don't see a lot of leaders coming and justifying their ideological basis or their metaphysical claims or anything of the sort. Like there's no, this is what I believe in. It's just that, okay, I'm your guy. I'll solve all your problems. And, I'm the best next thing to, a messiah, or maybe even better than that. Yeah. So
I think that is actually there's tyranny in democracy.
yeah.
Even in democracy. That's actually a really great philosophy, if you want to say it, or strategic planning to live by, because eventually anyone, like if we're talking about when we talk about democracy, what we say, we're talking about like 52% by 49 or something like that, 48.
51.
And there is no, basically they were rule against those people, and most of the time, if not all the time, those who win would actually be, unjust towards the other people. Not like they were going to take care of them, even if they don't agree with them. So even democracy, when you talk about democracy, you would be like, yeah, this is unjust. This is not, even that there's injustice in that. So they'll always say, like, as Muslims, we only take what Allah gives us. Like, Allah rules, this is not okay, this is not okay, this is okay, this is okay. And if we did that, actually, we would live really happily. But subhanAllah, like, people, they are always misguided. They're always, as you said, they love themselves. But
Yeah, in terms of democracy, I actually wanted to ask this. So, when the Oslo process is happening, like was there any sort of, a referendum or any sort of like, let's ask the people of Palestine, or let's forget the word, like, how do you work with that kind of stuff? I mean, I don't really understand it. So, if there is a value that's, some of these groups claim towards it is, oh, we're, a democracy or some kind of representation of the people, but you're making a decision of the people and you don't even ask them about what they want. How does that even, how do you even work with that? Yeah.
they act like they represent. They act like they represent the
Yeah.
people. So we know what's right, what is good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
don't worry, don't worry. We're going to take care of everything. We're going to take care of you. But eventually, when Oslo happened, it was the worst thing that happened to us. And I always say that. By the way, we always say like that to give an opinion and to hear the other opinion. And this strategy that they use, or people talk about this kind of this kind of I don't know, philosophy, maybe you want to call it. I always say that this philosophy is what led us to Oslo.
Yeah.
Why me, as being occupied, okay, and being kicked out from my country, need to hear what the occupation is talking about,
Yeah.
what their point of view.
Yeah.
Their point of view is clear, by the way, to occupy my country. So it doesn't make sense.
I mean,
When we got to
yeah.
Oslo,
There's just a sort of like, there's just a sort of like, we know what they want, but we're not we're still gonna just pretend that we don't know what they want, and still, like, I mean, yeah, it's something that
the
just bothers me so.
compromise that did in Oslo was severe. Like, it doesn't make sense, by the way.
Mhm.
For example, I'm gonna give like a normal example, which is that, like, if a husband and wife decided to divorce,
Yeah.
they will make compromise sometimes, something like that. Or even in the mutual normal life, they have compromise to live with each other.
Yeah.
So something like, I'm gonna stop smoking, I'm gonna stop like that. Okay, this is normal. But what happened in Oslo, that doesn't even call compromising, by the way. Doesn't make sense, because the only one who was compromised was like letting
It was a surrender. It was a surrender treaty. Yeah.
Exactly. The Zionists didn't give anything away. Like, you gave all Palestine, by the way, and then you decided to do another Oslo. By the way, they kept the same name, even though it wasn't Oslo. And you did it in Egypt after like 4 years from it, and decided to also to separate the so-called West Bank into 3 areas. And to make it even worse, the C area, because there were like A, B, C. The C area is a place where the Zionists are allowed to roam around, do whatever they like in it.
Yeah.
Do whatever they like. It's like, and eventually, like, I don't know if you saw the news, like a couple of months ago, they would destroy houses, they would burn them, burn their cars, do whatever they like. I'm talking about the settlers, so-called to be innocent people, the civilians.
Yeah. Give me this. Imagine we are in 1993 and we go around and do a referendum and we ask the people, do you support the two-state solution, or do you support also the process? What do you think the results would look like? Like, obviously you can, say it with accuracy. You haven't done the survey, but just on your experience of your own people, what do you think the survey would say?
No, everyone would say no. And they will actually be shocked actually about it, especially if they thought that, as I said, people were thinking that Arafat was a hero and everything. Like, how can Arafat, a hero who actually fighting for us, is suddenly telling us that we want to live with the Zionists? How do they think about it? This was like something strange to them, and they feel like something was wrong. And people at that time, by the way, they were more conscious. They were, the conscience there back then even was stronger than now. They all were fighting. everything they thought about was they want to fight. We want to go back to our land. We want to, it was like the what do you call it? The irada, the willpower that they had at that time. It's stronger than right now.
Yeah.
Okay, and also they were not, again. But I always say that social media NGOs, they had a lot of influence on the people. By the way, and that time there was no, the NGOs and the social media didn't exist at that time. So people were, raw people, but in the same time they were with big values that they know we want to fight and we're ready to die for our country. That was not just a saying. Some people right now will hear it said, but they're not actually ready to die.
Yeah.
But at that time, like down in Gaza, people are ready to die. Sadly, we don't want anyone to die. But they would say that they want to. They're ready to die. We're talking about kids, and this is when it comes to Intifada. The أطفال الحجارة. The name of the Intifada was أطفال الحجارة, which means the children of the stone, or the children who throw stones. So this much, it was like this situation. So they will definitely say no. It wasn't like, even though I lived at that time. I was a kid. I wasn't that kid, by the way. I was like, I was just, I don't know, like 11 years old, something like that. I wasn't like a really, I know what's going on. I know at that time, because my mom would tell me about it all the time. And even when we were kids, we were talking about what's time. Mom told me, actually, she was also on Pisayyin. So it's like, I know the situation. So, no, people will actually, I guess, because even here, we want to go back. When Naksa happened, setback, it's called, I think, in 1968, right? 86, 68. Yeah, Naksa.
Okay.
Setback, yeah. My grandfather actually, because we talked about that in the study when العدوان الثلاثي, when the 6 Days War happened.
67.
My 67, sorry.
Yeah.
In the 67, my grandfather actually got ready. He brought, they used to put clothes and stuff in a big sheet, and we hold it in their bag, and walk, stuff like that. The minute they decided to do that, he started to prepare himself to go back to Palestine. But then the defeat happened, and my grandfather got sick because of it. He got really sick, and he got blind eventually, and step by step, eventually he died. But this much, people were like so hopeful that they were going back, and they raised their children this way, by the way.
Yeah.
To always fight and to be so close to their bands that no matter what you come and tell me, like, yeah, how about we sign? Why don't we have a handshake? Why don't we go in a date with a Zionist?
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, someone told me to do that. By the way, once. He's from Ghana, I think. He's from Ghana, I think so. And he told me he has a friend who is a Zionist. No, he says Israeli. And she said that she's willing to know a Palestinian. She's happy to have a peace with us and stuff like that. And why don't you meet her?
Yeah.
You can't just tell me some
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was a Christian guy who believed in the soul, love, and peace, and that Allah loves everyone.
God is love and love and love. I actually was talking about this with Kamran. I told him, one of the problems that the Christians have is they don't have a concept of tabarra, or a concept of our idea of we have an idea of we love for God and then we hate for God, right? We don't just it's not just our love, and it's quite a balanced view in the sense that not everyone should be loved, right? We don't want to love evil people. We don't want to love people who are killers or murderers or rapists. But when you're only talking about love, it's actually very unjust, because it's unjust to the person who was oppressed. Why are you loving his oppressor, right? So alhamdulillah, I mean, in Islam we don't have that. We don't have that problem. And if you look at Isa alayhi salam, even in Bible, right? Even in the Bible, Isa alayhi salam, and I don't know how they basically kind of whitewash this whole thing. If you look at his personality, he's a very militant person. Even in the Bible, he goes to the synagogue, he's throwing around stuff, and he's basically, he's acting like any prophet would. Because prophets, if you look at,
Exactly.
they're really militant. All prophets are really militant um in their attitude, because you love for God and you hate for God. If you don't hate evil, you're just not doing a proper thing. So you see that behavior, but then they come about and they say, God is love. And Imam Ghazali actually had a portion on this in his book of love, Kitab al-Muhabba. He has a portion on this where he talks about, is it problematic to say God is love? And I think he concludes, maybe I'm forgetting, but I think he concludes that, it is problematic to say God is love. Um, y- you know, God loves is the more proper thing to say. Um, Sister Tania, it was amazing to talk to you, and inshallah, we will never run out of questions, and I would love to have you over again. And right, Alhamdulillah, I think this was a good session, and hopefully, people are convinced that Yasser Arafat was a traitor. Even in I think one of the things we don't do is we don't talk about our past mistakes, or a kind of ihtisab for the past actions or the people. And I think it's really important because we just keep on repeating the same mistakes, right? And I have a teacher. He's a history teacher, and he told me this repeatedly. He said one of the good things about studying history is that you recognize that there's a mistake that happens all like every 20, 30 years. Every generation is making that mistake. But if you learn it from the past one, you start making that mistake. So hopefully we learn from this and we look towards our own leadership, wherever they may be, and try to see those lines and try to see, are they standing on principle, or are they just being pragmatic? Are they doing things that are shady, or are they doing things that we can look towards and we can say, this is a guy who is trying to do genuine good, not just for his own people, but also for the good of the world. And the good of the world comes when you do good for your own people, right? When you are not a traitor to your own people. So it was nice having you. If you have any last words for myself or Pakistanis or just the general audience, this is your moment, and inshallah we'll see you again in the next one.
Inshallah. I just want to say thank you so much. I love Pakistan, by the way, even though I never went there.
Yeah, she's trying to learn Urdu, by the way. Yeah.
I want to. Yes, please, please. Uh, Also, I want to say that I feel like we are connected in a way, especially if we're talking about occupation. We had the same occupation, by the way, by the British. So
Yeah.
we have this kind of connection.
They have a lot of
So we know, yeah, we have a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also that inshallah we're also connected not just by that, we are connected also by Islam, and this is even more important. Alhamdulillah, and that inshallah, that when we are free, we're going to be finally one nation, and we can go so much like many times to Pakistan, and Pakistani come to Palestine, and I'll
Yeah.
feed you,
Yeah,
just like
100%.
enough.
100%. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And I think we covered this in our sessions as well that we do. But the Palestinian struggle was such a core component of the Pakistani struggle
Struggle.
inside India, right? And our founder, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when he passed the greatest resolution in the Pakistani history, the document that became basically Pakistan in 1940, the second statement is about Palestine. So he talks about, we want independence for the states in the Muslim states in India. And then he talked about, and we want a just solution to the Palestinian state with, the representation of the Arabs, and basically a kind of self-determination for the Arabs. Right. So Alhamdulillah. And as you said, the greatest connection is Islam. And uh, inshallah, this is part of that effort. So thank you for coming over, and inshallah we'll see you next time. Take care.
Yeah, thank you also for having me. Thank you.
SubhanAllah.
شوف بارك الله فيك.